Coming up on Backchecking the Bolts.
Has a ton of space. He goes, kind of head fakes towards the middle net, draws two Canadians out towards him, passes it down low to Dominic James. Now it's a 2-on-1 down low. Gonçalves is doing a hell of a job in front of the net to get position. Caden Gooley kind of gets stuck in no man's land. He's between James and Gonçalves. He's got to make a decision. Do I go out and play James, or do I try and block the pass? He tries to block the pass. James fits it through. Gonçalves' first whack at it gets stopped by Dobish, which is a nice save. But Gonçalves, as he's falling to the ice, swats it in on the rebound before help could arrive for his, the Montreal goaltender.
Welcome to Backchecking the Bolts. Backchecking the Bolts is your cup of coffee to get you the latest on the Tampa Bay Lightning. Join host Jason Linkus and the managing editor of Raw Charge, Justin Godfrey, as they break down the Lightning's most recent games and go beyond the highlights, telling you what the box scores didn't. It's time to drop the puck.
Well, how about that one? That was one hell of a hockey game. I don't care if you're a Montreal fan or a Tampa fan. That was as action-packed as a 1-0 game as you are going to get. Ladies and gentlemen, hey, you're on the Backchecking the Bolts podcast. I am Jason Linkus, your host, and I'm always joined by the managing editor of Raw Charge. He is Justin Godfrey. You can read him each and every day at www.rawcharge.com. Justin, that was a memorable one. That game had a little bit of everything. For a 1-0 game, though, that was just intense, exciting hockey.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much from the start of the game straight through. I mean, first of all, that crowd is absolutely fired up. Deafening would probably be a good word for it from the get-go. Lightning came out. I mean, both teams were trading chances early on in the first period. I think both teams were playing with a little bit of desperation, and both teams needed to. I mean, the Lightning definitely, but I think Montreal really wanted to win that game in front of their home crowd. I feel like they thought they had the Lightning on the ropes a little bit. The Lightning frustrated a little bit, and they wanted to end it in Game 6. So they were coming out. They were playing the perfect counterpunch game against the Lightning, who were taking way more chances than they had in the previous 5 games of the series, which they really needed to do. And that just makes for exciting hockey. And then you have both goaltenders kind of standing on their head throughout the game. Just everything you could possibly want. I mean, if you're a casual observer to this game, it's probably a little bit less stressful. But yeah, as a Lightning guy, it's stressful. I'm pretty sure the Montreal fans were taking their heart medication as well. But yeah, just a really great game. And the Lightning they got back to finding a way to come out on top. And it was a depth line that scored. It wasn't a top line, but then again, you had your best player in that game was your best player, and that was Andrei Vasilevsky. No doubt about it. No ifs, ands, or buts. He was the best player in that game.
Justin, when they write my obituary, they can easily say overtime playoff hockey will have taken 5 years off of my life. No doubt about that.
At the absolute minimum. I mean, we could be talking about a decade easily. So, but yeah, no, it's just pretty much, I think from the middle of the second period on, you got that feeling that it wasn't going to be a 4-1 finish. It was going to be 1-0, 2-1. I think we talked about it before the game, and I was kind of feeling a 3-1 game with an empty net goal at the end. But it was definitely, and then by the time we got to the third period, it was definitely next goal scorers, I think, for that entire period.
I texted you after the second frame and said next goal wins.
Yeah, there was just enough solid defensive play that the goaltenders had a little bit of help, especially Dobish. I don't think he was tested. Especially early on, I don't think he had to make as many 10-bell saves as Vasilevsky did. But that's just with the style of play. The Lightning had to be desperate in that game. They had to pinch. And Montreal was doing exactly what you do against a team like that. Once that puck's loose in your own zone and you think you're going to get it, send one of those forwards down. I can't count how many times in the second period I felt like a pass. You're watching it on TV, so you don't see the full screen. And you see a pass leave the Montreal zone, and all of a sudden there's just a Montreal forward right at the Lightning blue line with the puck, and it's a 2-on-1. I mean, they had to have 3 or 4 odd man rushes in that game, or in that period alone.
Before we talk about the goaltenders, I want to talk about the lineup changes because I think they had a pretty big impact in this game. Max Crozier out on defense for the Lightning. Back in the lineup was Charles Edward Destoux. In the forward position, Nick Paul must have recovered from his illness. He was back out there for game 6. Connor Geekie, he was out. First, I'm going to talk about Nick Paul. Nick Paul was missed in the faceoff circle immensely in game 5. In game 6, he put a nice effort in the faceoff circle, won 55% of his draws.
Yeah, that's a big thing. A lot of times it's when you win the draws, and Paul was out there for a few of the face-off draws on the power play, a couple on the shorthanded, and he's just a big body out there too. I thought he had a really good game in overtime. Montreal kind of came out early in that overtime, and they were pressing play a little bit. They got the early power play, but after that, I thought Nick Paul and his line mates had a really good shift where they just kind of cycled the puck in the Montreal zone. They didn't really get too many chances, but it was just one of those. It lets the Lightning breathe a little bit in overtime, kind of settles the crowd down a little bit. And, a few minutes later, it leads to the, Gage Gonsalve's goal. Paul does little things like that. He played just over 12 minutes, 12 and a half minutes. He was credited. The funny thing is he didn't have a shot on goal, but he had he had basically 4 shot attempts and 3 individual scoring chances. So it's little things like that. It's keeping the puck down away from the puck. And I thought he had a really good game. I thought the Lightning bottom 6 actually had a really strong game. Overall, it's probably their best contributions. The goal, regardless, I thought it was their best contribution in the series so far.
A pretty pivotal point in this game. At the end of the first period, Jake Gensel takes a penalty. It bleeds over into the second period. So Montreal's got a clean sheet of ice. They have their top power play unit out there for almost a full 2 minutes because I think Gensel took the penalty with roughly 11 seconds.
Yeah, 16 seconds, 11 seconds, something like that. Yeah.
So that was a crucial moment in this game with Montreal having the power play. Tell us about the penalty kill tonight. I thought they did an excellent job.
They did. I mean, there were moments where they kind of gave up some chances, but Vasilevsky was there to bail them out, but there was also a lot of solid kills. I thought they did a really good job on that first power play against. But I think there was a chance really early, but then Hagel and Cirelli kind of got into that game where they're pressuring the puck up at the blue line, got a couple turnovers, were able to clear the puck down, relieved a lot of that pressure. That's a big turning point. I mean, you get into that, momentum goal period again. Do you give it up at the last minute of play or do you give it up in the first 2 minutes of the period? And the Lightning avoided it. It's something they couldn't do in game 5. They couldn't avoid giving up those momentum goals. But, tonight they did. They answered the bell when they needed to. Yes, a lot of that was Andrei Vasilevsky playing out of his mind. But still, the players in front of him, when he made the save, they cleared the puck, and that's sometimes gets overlooked when somebody's making, like I said, a 10-belt save. You focus on the goaltender, but hey, that puck is still loose. You still have to get it out of the zone or else it's just going to get batted back in and everyone's going to forget about the big first save.
Justin, I'm going to say right now, you are Martin St. Louis. What is the one thought you have in your mind from this game?
Keep doing what you're doing. I think you tell them, look, it took an overtime goal to beat you guys. You guys played really well defensively. You limited the chances against for most of the game. You're going down to Tampa. You've beaten this team twice down in Tampa in pressure games. You guys can do this. I don't think you changed too much. I thought the Caulfield line with Suzuki, I thought they had a really good game. I think Caulfield hit the post twice in this game. So they were generating chances. So I think you just say, hey, guys, it is what it is. We lost. Both teams played pretty well. You go down. If you play like this, you're going to win, 9 out of 10 times. And I think, honestly, they would. You just tell them it took a super effort from the goaltender to beat you guys. So that's, I think, the motivation that you go with.
But don't you also think that if you're St. Louis, you're telling yourself, boy, we left a lot of chances out there tonight?
It's pretty much the reverse of what Cooper was saying after game 5 for the Lightning. You had a chance to end this thing, or you had a chance to take control of the series and you left it out on the ice, but I don't think Montreal played bad at all. It's not a game where they didn't rise to the moment. I thought they did, and you just ran into a really hot goaltender. It's plain and simple. Sometimes you can play as great as you want, but the guy's going to the Hall of Fame for a reason. And, he may not be 24-year-old Andrei Vasilevsky, but the old, the big old cat still has a few of these left in him. And I think that's what your message has to be, is like, you play like you did tonight and you can win game 7.
Third period, Jake Gensel has a breakaway. Caden Gooley gets a 2-minute minor for slashing. Gensel was pretty much in all alone. He wanted the penalty shot call. You could see that the Tampa bench wanted the penalty shot call. Should there have been a penalty shot call?
It's so close. I didn't think so in the moment, and on the replay, I didn't think so. I think it was on Caden Gooley, and yeah, he got beat. I mean, it was a turnover. It was a great play by Gensel, honestly.
Really was.
It was. It was kind of funny because, Montreal had been really pressing right before that moment. I mean, they had a really good shift, and then Gensel gets this turnover. I think Gullik stayed in contact with him enough that it wasn't a clear breakaway.
Gensel also got the shot off.
And he got the shot off, too.
A lot of times when it comes to penalty shots, if you get the shot off, you're not going to get the call.
If you get a clean chance, you're not going to get the call. Have we seen it go the other way? Yes. But I have no problem with that not being a penalty shot. I think part of the reason the Lightning were begging so much for it to be a penalty shot is power play just hasn't been very successful. You'll take your shot with Jake Gensel one-on-one as opposed to 2 minutes of torture. That being said, they actually had a really good power play. I thought their last 2 power plays that they had, and if you want to talk about bad calls, that call on
Lightning should have had a 2-man advantage.
Well, yeah, you got 2 of them here. So yes, so they're on the power play. There's a play in front of the net. Mike Matheson's trying to knock the puck out of the air. He takes a swing, he clips Braden Point up high. No call. It is a discretion call on the official's part right there, and they can say, hey, it was a follow through, inadvertent follow through. This is a lot similar to the penalty Gensel took in game 1, where he's swinging. Like his stick was a lot higher than Matheson's was, but it's kind of the same concept. Anytime you have a player sitting on your bench bleeding, needing stitches, or at least to get patched up, and there's no call, it's rough.
He's heading to the dentist. He needs some dental work on the bottom choppers that he has. That is our Martha Ray Super Polydent. Take it from a big mouth moment, because that was put it this way, no one is going to get that reference unless they're over 45 years old.
Exactly.
They're going to say, who's Martha Ray?
But then you go down 2 minutes later and Demidov's driving the net. He gets pushed by the Lightning defenseman into Vasilevsky a little bit, and they call goaltender interference. I don't see how you make that call as a referee, honestly.
I don't either.
With less than 5 minutes in a tie game, in an elimination game, I understand, hey, maybe we missed one early, but you gotta, especially in a game where they've swallowed the whistle for most of the game. And I honestly thought the officials had a really good game up until kind of that point. They were letting them play. There was nothing egregious getting missed. I mean, yes, there was an interference here and there, but it's like holding in football. It happens on every play. The only calls were a couple high sticking, which I think we're up to roughly 317 high sticking calls already this series. It seems to be the only thing they're calling other than that and puck over the glass.
Justin, I want to stop you there, because you're right about the high stickings. And it's not just in this series, it's in all the series. Those are the ones that they're calling. But in my mind, those are the easiest calls to make. When you have the officials out there, I want them to call the interferences. I want them to call the cross-checkings. That's what they let go all the time in the playoffs. I think in a lot of ways, that's where the officials are missing they're missing their mark a little bit, because they're calling the easy stuff. The puck over the glass, they should get that 100% of the time. The high sticks, they should get that almost 100% of the time. But it's the interferences and the cross checks that we see that they're missing. That's what frustrates me as a fan.
It is, but it's a fine line that they're walking between. How many penalties do we call? How much do we interfere? Influence the flow of a game. And to me, as long as they're calling it, down the middle, like if you're going to let it go for the Canadiens and let it go for the Lightning, the players can adjust to that style of game. Yes, it slows it down a little bit, and maybe the Jake Evans of the world and the Corey Perrys of the world get a little bit more action than they should. It'd be up to the higher skilled players. But if you're calling it down the middle and it's fair on both sides, which I thought tonight was for the most part, I'm okay with it. It is playoff hockey. I mean, God, you go back and watch that 2004 Stanley Cup, and I mean, people are getting murdered out there without a call. So it is still better. It is still better than the pre-lockout kind of clutch and grab hockey. Does it creep in, especially as the playoffs go on? We're going to see even more of it. But I mean, look, let's face it. on the Lightning's game-winning goal, you know, Emil Lilleberg gets away with a moving pick. I mean, that probably should have been interference.
Justin, let's talk about
Yeah.
that game-winning goal. We watched 69 minutes and 2 seconds of hockey without a puck going across the red line. On that next second, it was Gage Gonsalves. Take us back to that goal, but also, and I apologize for stopping you there, but tell us about that interference that happened close to the blue line.
So something we've talked about in this series, I think you brought it up after game 3 or 4, is Montreal's tendency to, as soon as there's a loose puck in the zone, in their own zone, to fly a forward out of the zone and get them down low. And they did it a few times.
Get that home run pass.
Get that home run pass. Get that odd man rush down the ice. They did it, and they had some success with it tonight. And I think that's kind of what's happening. So the puck's down, behind the net. Montreal plays it away from Gonsalves. It's going up the boards. I think Emil Lilleberg's actually heading off for a line change. So he's heading towards the Lightning bench. Kirby Dach is also skating out. I think he's trying to get out of that zone and set up a long distance pass, that home run pass that you talk about. But he also sees that the play is, coming in his direction. He doesn't sell it very well. And there's contact as they head to the bench. I don't think Dach makes enough of an effort to get back into the play to draw the officials' attention to the point of calling a penalty. But what it does is it frees up Brandon Hagel at the point. So he gets the puck, he corrals it. He has a ton of space. He goes, kind of head fakes towards the middle net, draws 2 Canadiens out towards him, passes it down low to Dominic James. Now it's a 2-on-1 down low. Gonsalves is doing a hell of a job in front of the net to get position. Caden Gooley kind of gets stuck in no man's land. He's between James and Gonsalves. He's got to make a decision. Do I go out and play James, or do I try and block the pass? He tries to block the pass. James fits it through. Gonsalves' first whack at it gets stopped by Dobish, which is a nice save. But Gonsalves, as he's falling to the ice, swats it in on the rebound before help could arrive for his, the Montreal goaltender. It's a great play. It's a great read by Hagel, honestly, because I think there's a temptation there when you have that much space to put the shot on net, especially with the way the Lightning have been struggling to get shots on net, clean shots on net from dangerous places. But he makes the right play there. Going down low to Dominic James opens up that 2-on-1. And, they finally got a pass through the middle. We talked about it last game. Montreal hasn't been letting those passes get through. They've been defending the middle of the ice really well, but this one sneaks through. Gonsalves gets 2 whacks at it, back of the net. For a guy who gets a lot of flack from Lightning fans, it's kind of surprising how much, people get on Gonsalves, because I think he's got a world of talent. Sometimes it just isn't there. I mean, that's a great confidence boosting goal for him. Not many people in this world can say they've scored a game-winning overtime goal in the NHL, and he's got that on his resume now.
Well, it's Game 7, Sunday night, 7 o'clock. That's the official time, right, Justin? 7 o'clock?
I haven't double-checked that. I'm going to assume that's what it is. Yeah, but I just haven't had a chance to take a look from the NHL yet to see if that's what it is.
I believe it's going to be Sunday evening, but the Lightning record team history, they are 8-3 in Game 7s. They won their last 3. I have it in front of me right now. 2022 first round against the Leafs, they won 2-1. 2021 in the Stanley Cup semifinals, they beat the Islanders 1-0. And in the 2020 Eastern Conference Finals, they beat those same Islanders 2-1 in overtime. Justin, you have to like the way the Lightning are going to feel coming into this game. They're back home. They've just won Game 6. First of all, any lineup changes do you see Cooper making?
I mean, you got to wonder about Victor Hedman. Before the game today, he said he was very close. He confirmed he wasn't going to play in Game 6, but he said he's very close to returning. Do you upset the apple cart and bring him in? If you bring him in, who goes out? Do you go 11-7? Which I would assume is what they do is if he comes in, because I don't think you can pull Lilleberg or Destu right now. So you probably go down a forward, and then what does that do to your defensive rotation? That would probably be the only lineup change I could think he makes. I wouldn't mind having the 2-time Stanley Cup winning defenseman, future Hall of Famer. Even if he's had a bad year, he's still Victor Hedman. He's going to be up for a big game. So we'll see what they do. I think that's going to be over the next 48 hours. The big question mark is Victor Hedman going to play Game 7? Does he set himself up for Steven Stamkos moment? All of 2020 in the bubble, is Stamkos going to play? Is he going to play? He gets in. man scores the biggest goal in Lightning history, right? So could we see part 2 with good old Vic Hedman banging one in from the blue line to win a game? Yeah, it would be a hell of a story.
If he does play and they go 11-7, which forward's coming out? Because you can't take Nick Paul out because of the face-off circle.
Probably Bjorkstrand, and it would be a shame because I think Bjorkstrand has played wonderful the last 2 games. It's been a rough year for the guy. He wasn't brought in to be a fourth line player. He was brought in to be up on that top 6 and score goals. For whatever reason, it just hasn't happened for him. But he hasn't said a word. He hasn't complained. He's gone out and he has put in workman-like efforts, especially in the playoffs when he's been in. I thought he had a fantastic game today. I thought Dominic James had a great game. I thought Zemgus Girgensons had a good game. And it was the type of game that you want to see out of those bottom 6 players. That being said, I think he's the one who probably comes out of the lineup. They had actually moved Corey Perry up to whichever first or second line, however you want to call it. But, he was playing with Braden Point for a little while, so I don't think he comes out. Nick Paul, I don't think you can take out unless he's still sick, just because of his face-off acumen, and Dominic James isn't coming out. I think Dominic James has been one of the best players, period, for the Lightning. Now you got
He's been good. He's a little pest out there. He makes things happen. And especially with Montreal's speed game, I think you definitely want James out there just because he's one of the few Bolts who can fly.
I mean, there were a couple times today where he got the puck in the neutral zone, just kind of circled around and said, you know what, I'm going to throw the puck into the zone and I'm going to go get it myself. I'm going to beat both these defensemen to the puck, and then I'm going to set something up. And the Lightning don't have a lot of players who can do that. It's kind of the same thing that Stu brings into it. He's a guy who can carry the puck from one end of the zone to the other. Looking through some of the micro stats, I think Stu was their biggest puck carrier as far as getting it out of the zone, and then into the offensive zone. So, those are things that play against Montreal. That's what you need. So we'll see. I don't see those guys coming out of the lineup. I do think it'll be 11-7, and just by pure numbers, I think it's Bjorkstrand that comes out.
Justin, real quick, prediction for Game 7.
I'm not going to enjoy it.
The stress?
Stressed, I will look for a ticket, but I don't think I'm going to go. I didn't move off of my couch for 3. I sat in a freaking dark because, I didn't want to get up to turn the light switch on just to move from my spot on the couch today. So
what's your prediction?
Overall, I think it's going to be a lot like tonight. I think the Lightning have to realize that they have to play a little reckless from time to time. I think part of this post-Stanley Cup team that's struggled in the playoffs is from time to time they play too safe. They don't want to get beat on the long plays, and I think you need a little recklessness. Controlled chaos, maybe controlled recklessness would be a better way of saying it, but you have to take chances. You cannot play safe for 60 minutes a game. The other team's just going to take advantage of it. I mean, Montreal, they had a lot of turnovers in this game. The Lightning forced a lot of bad plays, and they've done it all series long. It's just the Lightning haven't been able to capitalize when they make these, nice plays in the offensive zone, and Montreal has. It's kind of been the reason we're at 7 games right now. And the Lightning have done a lot of good things as far as creating turnovers and forcing bad puck decisions by the Canadiens. They just can't capitalize on it. So I think the Lightning need to play that way. They need to get in deep. They need to pinch in with their defensemen and, possibly end up with a forward on defense on a 2-on-1, and then just pray to God that Andrei Vasilevsky does what Andrei Vasilevsky does. That's how you kind of beat a team that you're slower than, and that's what the Lightning are.
So I'm actually going to make a prediction.
Okay. I'll get you a prediction. Don't worry. I'm just trying to play it out in my head.
I'm actually going to, I'm going to say 3-1 Lightning. And part of the reason is, even though they lost Game 5, I thought that they were the better team with the exception of Dobish. Dobish has played tremendous all series. Between Vasilevsky and Dobish, I think Dobish has probably been the better of the 2 goaltenders by a little bit. But that being said, I really like the way the Lightning have been pushing the play offensively. I think they're getting some depth and moving the Canadian defensemen back off of the blue line. I think this is just the Lightning's time. I still felt that even early in this series, the Canadiens might be 1 year away from being that team. I'm saying 3-1 Tampa.
I like that. I'm going 4-2 Tampa. And my bonus prediction, for the first time in 22 games, the Lightning are going to exit the first period with the lead. If you want a weird stat that
Wow.
it has been 21 straight games since the Lightning have had a lead after the first 20 minutes of hockey. I think they come out flying. I think we see the energy we saw tonight. I think they get a couple early. Force, Montreal. I think if you force Montreal to chase the game, it plays into the Lightning's hands. So I'm saying 4-2, Lightning victory. They move on. I think it becomes the loss that teaches Montreal how to win. I think a lot of times these younger teams, as unfortunate it is, you do kind of have to go through a loss before you realize what it takes to win in the playoffs. I don't think they got that against Washington last year. I think they were kind of just happy to be in the playoffs.
This is their first war when it comes to the playoffs.
Exactly. Yeah. This is a drag you through the trenches, tactical warfare, last team standing wins kind of thing. The Lightning kind of went through it in 2015 in the Stanley Cup against Chicago. And I think that built the foundation for what was eventually the 2-time Stanley Cup winning team. So so I'm going 4-2.
Justin, before we leave, John Cooper was nominated for the Jack Adams Award. He's going up against Lindy Ruff of Buffalo, Dan Muse of Pittsburgh. I think it's probably Lindy Ruff's trophy. What do you think?
The only way Cooper wins this, I think, is it's more of a lifetime achievement award. He finally gets the extra votes because of what he's done over his career and the fact he hasn't won it yet. I do think Ruff probably gets it. Just, the Jack Adams is always what team exceeded their expectations the most, right?
Right.
I think Cooper's done a hell of a job this year. Yes, they kind of, faltered after the Olympic break, but just the number of injuries they dealt with early in the season and the fact that they were able to bring these guys up, get them in. This, we talked about it in one of our early podcasts. Those minutes that the Stu logged, that James logged early in the season, this is what it's coming out. This is where the benefit is. If the Lightning have been healthy in November and December, these guys don't get these minutes. And I think it's proven important right now. So I think Cooper's done a hell of a job. He's got to win it at some point.
I think he's going to finish in third. I really do. I think Ruff,
number 2.
I think Ruff is going to be the runaway winner because Buffalo came out of nowhere. You had mentioned it's an improvement award from the year before. And you hate to say this, but people expect the Lightning to be good. And even though they did face a ton of injuries, the expectation is that John Cooper has a really good team. The expectation wasn't that Buffalo was even going to make the playoffs, let alone win the division. 2 other Lightning players have been nominated for awards. Andrei Vasilevsky for the Vezina. The other candidates are Ilya Sorokin, Jeremy Swayman. Vasilevsky wins that running away.
I think so. Kind of interesting. The 2 goaltenders, I don't think got enough love. I think Logan Thompson didn't get anywhere near enough love or his credit as he deserved for what he did in Washington. And I think it's kind of the opposite of the Jack Adams Award. I think Washington was kind of expected to be a little bit better this year, but he had a phenomenal season. I think he has better stats than at least 2 of the 3 finalists. And then the Colorado goaltenders, I just don't think they played enough. They kind of went too much into a split. But I'm kind of surprised Thompson didn't get more votes. But Vasilevsky, I think, runs away with that. If Sorokin had closed out the season a little bit stronger, maybe he gives him a case. And if Swayman, I think Swayman's problem is that just Boston was just like a good team all season long. He never really, he played really well and he put up good stats, but there was never a stretch of play where he was the best goaltender in the league. I think Vasilevsky and Sorokin could both say at some point in the season they were the best goaltender in the league. And I think that's going to help them with the votes.
The final award that was announced was the Ted Lindsay Award, the most outstanding player. You had Connor McDavid. You have Kucherov. Surprisingly, it wasn't McKinnon. It was Macklin Celebrini.
Yeah.
Were you a little bit surprised at that?
I think it's one of these things. This is, it's the most outstanding player is voted by the players, by the NHLPA. So I think the Lindsay, sometimes you get some interesting nominations. And I think his fellow players realize how important he was to the Sharks this year. So it's good to see him. I like it. No slight to Nathan McKinnon. I think if you're looking for an MVP or most outstanding player for his team, Macklin Celebrini has to be in the discussion. Does he win it? I don't think so. I think it comes down to McDavid or Kucherov, and it's going to be interesting to see if what happened towards the end of the regular season with Edmonton going on that roll if that's enough to put McDavid over the top. This is one of those awards that's voted in the regular season. So the Oilers flame out in the playoffs, which I believe I said they should be relegated if they lost to the Ducks. So
And
have
hey,
fun in
but
the AHL that season, Edmonton Oilers. Yeah, it's
I
going to be an
know
interesting.
one of us picked the Ducks to win that
No,
series.
yeah, I think we both did you pick up?
I did. Yes, I did. I
Good for you.
bet them.
Oh, well, there you go. Winner. Whatever you get out of that for dinner. So,
Yeah.
yeah, and if we want to segue into the rest of the playoffs, there's still what are we still waiting on? The Lightning
Buffalo
series.
won tonight. Buffalo won
That's
4-1
done, right?
tonight.
Yeah.
They've advanced.
Oh, the Vegas
Carolina,
one, right?
yeah, Vegas and Utah are playing right now. You have a set series in Carolina and Philadelphia. They're actually going to face off tomorrow night before some of the game sevens if we have one in Vegas and Utah.
Yeah. So I think, outside of that Anaheim series, which I think, there was some doubt into it, it's gone pretty much according to plan. I mean, I know Philly is technically an upset, but those teams basically had the same amount of points. I think we knew that a younger team was going to give Pittsburgh trouble, and then Vladar just played out of his mind. So I think things have gone pretty much to plan. Carolina's the best team. Colorado's the best team in the West. Now, do they end up in the Stanley Cup final? It's hard to say. And Colorado's going to have a hell of a test on their hands against a Minnesota team that actually realized that they can win in the playoffs. It's a new feeling for them.
That is their first win in 9 playoff series.
Yep.
But the one thing, Justin, I wonder if Colorado has had too much time off. You like to get the rest. You like to have that time to get your guys healthy before the next playoff series. But there's something to be said for having a week of rest and being a little rusty. But we'll find out what happens with the Avalanche.
I think it gives Minnesota a chance to steal one of those games in Colorado, game 1 or game 2. But I think Colorado's, they're kind of like Lightning. There's a lot of veteran experience there that I don't think they're going to let themselves get too blown off the ice. Even if they are a little bit rusty, it's going to be interesting what their goaltenders do. I think that's the biggest position that's affected by these long layoffs is the netminders. They're not seeing game time action. So you get a couple past whoever's going to be in the net for them, on Wedgwood or whoever the starter's going to be. I don't know. But yeah, it should be an interesting series out there. I think that's right now your best second round series.
Justin, Carolina. I want to make one point about that series. Wesley Lawrence, when we had him on the last show, we talked about Dallas's power play against Minnesota. They had another power play goal in game 6, even though they lost. Their power play was clicking at almost 40% for that series. Minnesota's going up against a Colorado team. Surprisingly, as much talent as the Avalanche have, their power play has not been good all year. So that could play a little bit into the Wild's advantage.
Be good. I mean, and then I just think in the playoffs, there's so much that changes from series to series and regular season to playoffs that it's kind of hard. And it's kind of hard to take some of this stuff of what's happened in the regular season and pull it over. It's just so much change, and you play the same team time and time again, and maybe Colorado does something that Minnesota struggles with, on the penalty kill, and next thing you know, there's Colorado's at 30% for the power play. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting matchup. I just think there's going to be so much skill on the ice between those two teams. It's going to be fun to watch. Yeah,
it really is.
I don't think it's going to Carolina Philly is going to be an interesting one.
Carolina's going to whack some. This is the worst possible matchup for Philly. Worst possible one.
You're going to be putting a lot of pressure on Vladar's shoulders. And I don't know if he can handle it, but I think you got some youth on Philly that maybe they, give Carolina some trouble. Carolina's a weird team, man. I think they get in their own heads at certain points. And, they were a little banged up at the end of that, even though they swept them. I know Nick Ehlers was kind of banged up a little bit. So some of that depth.
It was a physical series.
Yeah, they could be, Philly steals a game here or there, and all of a sudden, that doubt creeps into Carolina's head, and they start seeing shadows of past playoffs. You never know.
Justin, tell us what's going on over at Raw Charge. I know you're excited to get that recap out for Game 6.
Yeah, so we just posted that right before we went on air. We'll break that down. We'll spend tomorrow talking about some aspects of the game, probably go over the press conferences as well. what Cooper had to say about the game, what some of the players had to say. Look forward to that Game 7. Maybe take a look at the history of some of the Lightning's Game 7s in the past. We've had some unlikely heroes. Rusty Fedotenko, Nick Paul does it all against Toronto. So it should always be fun. Game 7s are fun no matter what happens. You don't get to see them a lot. And this city should be pretty entertaining on Sunday. It should be a good time.
Well, everyone sit back, relax, and enjoy it Sunday night. It's the Bolts and the Habs in Tampa, so enjoy the game. For Justin Godfrey, who you can read each and every day at Raw Charge, www.rawcharge.com. I'm Jason Linkus. Thanks for joining us. Please hit that like and subscribe button, and we will be back for our Game 7 instant reaction on Monday. Well, that podcast will be released on Monday. Go Bolts.
Go Bolts.
Thank you for listening to Backchecking the Bolts. We are free and available on all platforms, including Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon, YouTube, and Deezer. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to subscribe and leave a review. You can follow Justin on Blue Sky at rawcharge.com. You can follow the show on X at Tampa_Bolts_pod and on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Backchecking the Bolts. If you're interested in advertising on the show or partnering with us, you can find more information in the show notes or email Jason at backcheckingthebolts@yahoo.com.